Bonbon's acceptance, which I think this is gonna be my last story for a long while, because I'm not really like interested in the stories at the moment. Sorry if more guys want me to continue this. Honestly, sorry about that. I really want to go into the whole gaming side of things and just stay there growing, but I'm pretty sure that's just gonna fuck things up and a lot of other shit. Anyways, upset, a little bit of Fortnite fatigue getting me. I'm getting irritated. I'm not sure why. Like I normally say like after like I moved out, I was gonna like just play video games for fun, but right now, it's getting me angry, which is something I hate right now. Anyways, revenge and candy. So I'm guessing by the sounds of this that okay. So it looks like okay. Let me just. Right now, I think we're going back to Bonbon's, or not Bonbon, Lyra's perspective right now. I'm not sure why, but unless. But this would be okay. This is it's gonna be a weird chapter. Anyways, let's hop right into it. Revenge and candy. Lyra tirelessly held up her lyre in her hooves as she mindlessly plucked away at the strings with her magic, going through the motions of the winter wrap-up melody that she had done a million times before. She struggled to keep her eyes open as she played along with the orchestra around her, watching her lyre as the strings vibrated with each note as she played. Sleep had been a struggle for her lately. She couldn't stop thinking about Chris and Bonbon. She hoped that they were getting along and Bonbon wasn't being her usual stubborn self. Lyra knew Chris wouldn't let Bonbon do that. He would go nuts if she wasn't at least talking to him by now. If any point he could get her to come out of her shell, it was him. But Lyra couldn't help wondering what they might be doing in that cabin right now. Maybe she could check on them later just to see if things were going smoothly. The more Lyra thought about it, the more she realized she couldn't do that. It would just be too risky. What if some pony saw her where she was going and followed her? She would have to stay away from the cabin until the spell wore off. But she might be able to just peek into the window, and no, she couldn't. You're hoping to see something else. I can guarantee that. Maybe she made a mistake. Okay, no, she couldn't. Lyra. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she made a mistake. What if her plans was doing the exact opposite of what she thought it would do? What if Bonbon and Chris weren't really meant to be together like she originally thought? But that couldn't be true. Bonbon definitely saw something in Chris at the Everfree Moon. There was no doubt in her mind. Wait, what? But that couldn't be true. Bonbon definitely saw something in Chris at that Everfree Moon. There was no doubt in her mind they were the way Bonbon looked at him when she took the fire lily said it all. It was the right choice to put them together, and it was the only way Bonbon would even give Chris a chance. Lyra, but would they even forgive her once it was all over? Oh no, you can just get it. That just made my lips tremble. Lyra could feel her eyes start to water as she thought about losing the ones she loved the most because of her actions. It was a scary and horrible thought, but she couldn't blame them if they didn't want to see her anymore. Maybe it wouldn't be too late to dispel the barrier or tell them she was sorry and try to make it up to them. All she would have to do is Lyra, heartstrings. Lyra jumped, jerking her head up and looked towards the source of the voice that called to her. She saw Octavia in the front of the room, looking directly at her with a confused and worried expression. The Grey Earth pony was standing up, holding her cello in her hooves as if she was in the middle of playing a note. We've moved on from winter wrap-up a while ago. Can you please keep up with us? Octavia asked in a kind yet exhausted tone. Lyra glanced all around the room and saw that every pony had stopped playing their instruments and to glare at her. The crowd of ponies were giving her a mix of bemused and frustrated looks. Lyra smiled sheepishly in embarrassment and looked back towards Octavia. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Yes, I could hear that, Octavia said in a disheartening tone before sighing deeply. How about we conclude practice early today? She said as she started to put cello away in its proper case. Every pony played exceptionally well and expect the same performance during tomorrow's practice, she added it as every pony in the room started to pack their instruments away. Wait, does Octavia have a music class? Class, you know? Yes, that's what I meant. Lyra took a deep breath and exhaled slowly before using her magic to put her lyre in its case. Thoughts about Chris and Bonbon continued to plague her mind as she placed the case in her saddlebags. She fought back a tear as she set the bags on her haunches and slowly made her way towards the exit, hanging her head in despair. Lyra, Octavia called softly from behind her, causing her to freeze just as she was about to reach the exit. I want you to stay. We need to talk. Excuse me. I might have read too fast. Might have not, me and all that. I'm a little bit upset, so that's gonna be an issue. Lyra groaned to herself, knowing that what was going to happen next. She stepped away from the door, making her way towards Octavia, who was standing in the middle of the room with her cello case strapped on her back. Once everybody had left, Octavia looked directly into Lyra's exhausted and baggy eyes with a worried frown. Lyra, what's been going on with you lately? Lyra knew this question was coming. I'm sorry, Octavia. She started to explain, not daring to look directly into Octavia's eyes. I know I haven't been performing at my best. I'll make sure I do better tomorrow. Octavia frowned deeply. You've just been so distant and distracted, she pointed out, sounding concerned. You're one of our best musicians here, but you keep playing off tempo, and you even started to play that really strange and sad melody in the middle of Beethoven's Fifth yesterday. Beethoven. It's Beethoven. I'm not gonna put no pony spoofs in her. Lyra sighed tiredly, knowing exactly what song she was talking about. I'm sorry, she said softly, not really sure what else to say. I never heard that song before. Is it one of your own? Oh no, it's Lyra started to explain shyly, hesitating as she drew a small circle on the floor with her hoof. It's just a song from Chris's old world that he told me about. He loves it when I play it for him. She reminisced with a gentle smile, but frowned once she remembered where he was at the moment. Has everything been okay with you and Chris? Yeah, we're fine, Lyra responded nervously, keeping her gaze down. Octavia walked up to Lyra's side and placed her hoof over her withers in a comforting gesture. Lyra, I can tell that's not true. I'm your friend, and you can tell me what's wrong. Lyra shut her eyes and turned her head away from Octavia. It's nothing, really. Everything's fine, she argued weakly. You two haven't split up or anything, have you? Octavia asked softly. He hasn't hurt you, has he? She added in a whisper. Why does every pony just think that he's gonna hurt him? What? Lyra shouted, jerking her head towards Octavia, looking directly into her eyes with a scowl. He would never do something like that, and we didn't break up, she snapped loudly. Yeah, she gets pissed. Octavia quickly took her hoof off Lyra's withers and held it up in defense of my apologies. I meant no offense. Lyra groaned, shutting her eyes as she massaged her temple with the hoof. I'm sorry, Octavia, she said, placing her hoof back down. You're just looking out for me. I didn't mean to snap. She let out a long, exhausted sigh, opening her eyes slightly so she could peer down at her hooves. I've just been so on edge ever since, she started to explain, but stopped once she realized what she was about to say. Since what? You can tell me. Octavia tried to reassure her. I'm willing to lend an ear and help if at all possible. Don't you dare, Lyra. It's gonna be a problem, Lyra. This is a problem. Like, this is your plans. She just might mess it up. Let's just not include the cabin part. Let's hopefully just say, like, you want Bonbon and Chris to be together. Boom. And want to be a herd. There we go. Lyra continued to stare down at her hooves as she contemplated Octavia's offer. She only wanted to talk to some pony or any pony about what happened. It's just, she began to explain again, but hesitated, shutting her eyes tightly. She couldn't just tell Octavia what she did to Chris and Bonbon. Yeah, don't tell her that part. Don't tell her that part. Let's just not tell her that part, Lyra. Come on, tell her the part that I just mentioned, actually. Yeah, do that. It's okay, Lyra, Octavia reassured her in a sweet, friendly voice. I'll sort of secrecy if I must. Octavia's offer was extremely tempting. Lyra needed a friend to talk to right now, and Octavia was one of her best. She hadn't known the Earth Pony for most of her musical career, and she knew that Octavia was a trustworthy and kind-hearted pony. If there was any pony that she could trust to keep a secret, it was her. If I tell you, Lyra began to say, opening her eyes, looking up to Octavia with a sad, plain expression, you have to promise me that you won't say a word to any pony else. Octavia nodded her head in agreement, holding the hoof over her chest. I swear on my honor, as a musician, I would tell no pony. She stated, dropping her hoof down, smiling warmly at Lyra. Now, I would like to know what has been troubling one of my dearest friends so much. There we go. Lyra smiled briefly at her remark before taking a deep breath and exhaling slowly. You remember what happened after Chris and I took Bonbon out for a date? Octavia nodded her head. Yes, I remember that. I can't imagine why Bonbon would hit Chris so suddenly like that. She admitted with a frown. I know, right? Lyra shouted in frustration. It was so strange, and I tried to talk to her about it afterwards, but she wouldn't tell me what was wrong. She half shouted, stomping a hoof down in annoyance. So, is that why you've been so distracted lately? Octavia asked, frowning in concern. Well, no, Lyra admitted, rubbing the back of her neck with a hoof, looking away. I mean, yes, but no, she added vaguely, dropping her hoof back down. Then what is it? Please tell me. I'm really starting to worry about you, Octavia pleaded. I feel like you should have started a long time ago. Just saying. Lyra looked back to Octavia with a saddened eyes. She hesitated, thinking whether this was a really good idea or not. Probably bad. She squeezed her left foreleg with her hoof, biting her bottom lip for a moment as she thought about what she would say. I think I did something terrible to Chris and Bonbon, she finally admitted with the teary eyes. Octavia raised a confused and concerned eyebrow, tilting her head to the side ever so slightly. What do you mean? She asked flatly. I lied to them. Octavia blinked a few times in confusion. Is that it? No, I tricked them into spending time with each other, Lyra half mumbled. You did? Octavia asked, sounding baffled. Lyra nodded her head slowly. She started to say, but paused, thinking that it would be best not to tell Octavia the whole truth. She took a short moment to think more about her little lie before continuing. I tricked them into going on a long cruise together, she lied, trailing off into a whisper. Not really a cruise, but I can see where she gets. They're isolated somewhere, it's only you know. It's good. Octavia lifted a hoof to her lips and scrunched up her muzzle, trying to hold back her laughter. You tricked them into, she tried to say before finally burst into a fit of giggles. Lyra forced herself to laugh awkwardly with Octavia. It was good that her friend could at least find what she did funny. That was a good sign that she bought her little lie and didn't think what she did was terrible. Octavia quickly calmed herself, dropping her hoof down. Oh my, she breathed. I'm sorry, Lyra. I didn't mean to laugh. She apologized gently with a brief giggle. I just can't believe you managed to actually trick them into going on a cruise together. Lyra let out a laughed and a nervous laugh, rubbing her foreleg tightly. Yeah, pretty crazy, huh? Octavia took another deep breath before smiling back at Lyra. That is indeed crazy, she agreed jokingly. You'll have to tell me how you pulled that pull that one off later. She giggled under her breath a few times before. But I do feel like the way you did, what you did was wrong, she admitted somberly. Even if it was just to send them away on a fun cruise together, you really shouldn't be tricking ponies like that. Lyra sighed deeply, hanging her head down in shame. She knew Octavia was right. It was a good thing she didn't know the whole truth, because then she'll step in and be like, okay, I'm telling somebody about this. Probably Twilight, because she's the one that would probably be the best option to take down the portal and spell. Knowing you, though, I'm sure you had a good reason, Octavia continued with a soft smile. So why did you feel it was necessary to get those two together? Lyra looked back at Octavia with a tired and stressed expression. I tried to talk to Bonnie about what happened, but you know how she gets sometimes. She started to explain, sounding worn out and beaten. I think it's something to do with Silverwing, but she refused to talk about it. Bonbon was rather hurt after what he did to her. I can see why she would be apprehensive towards another stallion if that was the case. That was so long ago, though, Lyra argued, frowning deeply, and I don't even know if that's the real reason why she left that night. I have a feeling that there's more to it, but she won't tell me, and I know she doesn't have to fear Chris hitting her like Silver did. Octavia hummed to herself in thought, looking away for a moment. I would have to agree with that. I can't see Chris ever doing what Silver did. That's not the only reason I did it, Lyra added in a soft, somber tone, looking down at the floor. I know them both extremely well, and it's obvious that they would be happy together. They even share a passion for cooking. Octavia nodded her head in understanding. So that's why you felt like you had to trick them into spending time with each other, she asked in a serious tone, because Bonbon wouldn't have given Chris a chance otherwise. Yes, Lyra admitted, simply nodding her head. Octavia frowned in thought for a moment, humming to herself before replying to Lyra. I know Bonbon can be, what's the word? She paused, rubbing her hoof over her chin. Unreasonably difficult when it comes to talking about personal matters, she said, placing her hoof back down, looking back to Lyra. And if you're saying that they would make each other happy, then I can see where you're coming from. Octavia placed her hoof on Lyra's shoulder, causing her to look up. I do have to admit, though, I am a little disappointed that you would lie to them, but at least you sent them on a nice cruise where they can relax and enjoy themselves. Yeah. Lyra stuttered, feeling even more ashamed. She wished that was true. It would have been nicer if she sent those two on a nice romantic cruise, but even that might not have worked, considering Bonbon would have just stayed away from Chris the whole time. I know what I did was wrong. I just wanted all of us to be happy together, she half babbled as tears started to well up in her ears. But now I'm afraid that they won't forgive me when they get back. I'm afraid of losing them. This is a really complicated. This is so complicated. Oh, I love it. There, dear, Octavia cooed reassuringly as she wrapped her hoof around Lyra and pulled her into a friendly embrace. Don't say such things. I can't see that happening at all. Lyra held Octavia tightly with her foreleg as she leaned her head against Octavia's neck. You don't think they'll leave me? She whimpered sadly. She wanted to believe her friend's words, but how could Chris and Bonbon ever forgive her? What I did to them was awful. Octavia shook her head in disagreement, giving Lyra a reassuring squeeze. I don't believe that, she confronted in a warm, friendly tone. What you did wasn't very nice, but I've seen the way Chris looks at you, she added with a giggle. He loves you, and he's practically attached to your hip, and Bonbon has loved you for longer than I've known you, she reassured Lyra, giving her a tight, Finally squeezed. I was so delighted when you told me you were finally taking Bob on a real date. It was about time you two made it official. Lyra shut her teary eyes tightly, nodding her head and taking a moment to enjoy the much-needed hug. Thank you, Octavia, she sniffled. Of course, Octavia responded, pulling away from the hug, but keeping her hoof on Lyra's shoulders. She looked into Lyra's eyes with a comforting and reassuring smile. I know things will work out. Who knows? Maybe your little trick worked, she teased slightly before giving Lyra a more serious look. But if I was in your position, I would be thinking of a way to apologize to them, and I wouldn't be pulling stunts like this ever again. Yeah, Lyra agreed, wiping her eyes with the back of her hoof. I won't lie or trick them ever again, she said, dropping her hoof down, breaking their embrace, and taking a small step back. Yeah, because it's beating her. She's been technically beating herself up right now over it. Octavia opened her mouth her mouth to say something, but was interrupted when some pony opened the door and trotted into the room. Yo, Tavi! Called a loud and energetic voice. Guessing it's Vinyl. Lyra and Octavia both turned their heads and saw Vinyl Scratch. The white unicorn grinned at them both, wearing those purple sunglasses that she always had. Oh, hey, Lyra, Vinyl greeted warmly as she happily trotted up Octavia. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Octavia sighed softly, shaking her head slightly. Hello, Vinyl, she greeted as she turned to face the unicorn. Hey, babe, Vinyl cooed lovingly. I thought I'd come by and see if you wanted to get lunch, she added, wrapping her foreleg around Octavia, pulling her into a loving kiss, which the Earth Pony gladly accepted. Octavia broke their kiss, blushing softly. Could you just give us a moment, sweetheart? I need to finish talking with Lyra. Love it. Oh yeah, Rhino asked, letting go of Octavia as she faced Lyra. She stared at the unicorn for a moment, then lifted her purple shades with her magic, letting them rest on her horn, revealing her concerned rose-colored eyes. Whoa, you don't look so good, Harps. You've been sleeping at all? I'm fine, Lyra replied weakly. I've just had a lot on my mind lately. Sorry about busting in like this, then. Rhino apologized with a frown. I'll just come back later, Tabby. Okay. Okay, that first sentence on that sorry about busting in. Okay, I don't ever see Vinyl saying that. I'm not sure why. I'll just come back later, Tabby, she said, making her way back out. Oh, it's fine, Lyra reassured them both, causing Vinyl to stop in mid-step. We're just finishing up, and I should really be heading home. Are you sure, Lyra? Octavia questioned. We can keep talking if you like. Lyra nodded her head. Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you so much for listening to me, Octavia. Yeah, Tabby's pretty awesome, Vinyl chimed in happily. Always helping ponies and looking sexy as ever, she teased with a wide, cocky grin, kissing her lover on her now rosy cheek. Octavia giggled, playfully pushing Rhino away with her hoof. Oh, stop it. You know flattery doesn't work on me. Rhino sniggered before turning attention back to Lyra. So it's been a while. How have you and Chips been doing? Vinyl, Octavia said with a scowl. His name is Chris, not Chips. Please don't embarrass me in front of our friend. Lyra laughed at her out loud, which caused Octavia to look back at her in surprise. It's okay, I like that name. I'll have to remember that one for later. Chris would get a kick out of it, she reassured Octavia before facing Vinyl. Chris and I are doing fine, and thank you for asking. Cool, you two are a pretty badass couple, you know. What? What the fuck? Okay, Vinyl. Let's see, like, that is not what I would... Cool, yes. Pretty badass? No. Cool, you two are a pretty badass couple, you know. Rhino complimented with a white smirk and a wink. I wish I could date a weird alien. Well, aside from Tabby here, of course. Octavia huffed in mock annoyance at her lover, trying to hide her smile with a little success. Yes, very funny. Lyra snorted, starting a laugh at her friends. Okay, this is getting her pretty happy. Me too, for that matter. Are you sure you're okay now, Lyra? Octavia asked with concern. Lyra nodded her head. Yeah, I'm sure, and I promise I'll be at my best for tomorrow's practice. Octavia waved a limp, dismissive hoof at Lyra. You go practice at home. I think it will benefit you to take some time and relax a little. Thanks, Lyra replied, smiling happily. And thanks again for listening. Of course, Lyra, anytime. Hey, Vinyl shouted in excitement. Since you're off tomorrow, we can go out for some drinks and have some fun. You can bring Chips with you. What? Like, no one can say his name right. It's fucking hilarious to me. Thanks for the offer, Vinyl, but I think I'll take a rain check on that. I just want to stay home and chill for a while. Lame, Vinyl said with a mock frown before flashing Lyra a big toothy grin. Smile. A big toothy smile. Nah, that's cool. I getcha. Have fun with your day off. Feel better, Lyra, and I'll see you later, Octavia said as she started to walk out from the room with Vinyl close behind. Do try to take it easy, won't you? She added, looking over her shoulder. I will, Lyra waved her hoof as they both exited the room, closing the door behind them. Leaving her all alone, she slowly lowered her hoof back to the ground as her smile melted into a sad frown. Lyra stood in an empty room, mulling over everything Octavius told her. She wanted to believe that Chris and Bonbon would forgive her, but how could they? She sat back on her haunches and whimpered quietly to herself as her eyes started to water again. She just hoped they were doing okay. Well, let's see. Back to the Bonbon stuff. Haha, and Chris. Back to the cabin stuff. There we go. That's the best transition I can do. Bonbon kicked the bathtub stopper out with her hoof, letting the water drain out completely before shaking some of the excess off of her. She hadn't been able to have a proper bath since this whole cabin fiasco had started, and she was starting to feel pretty grimy. She figured it was time to clean herself, plus she couldn't let her coat get all dirty and frazzled with Chris around. The only downside was that she couldn't clean her mane or back very well since she left her special earth pony bathing brush and grooming combs at home. Bonbon had left her all those behind, thinking Lyra would have been in the cabin to help her bathe if she got her mane wet. Now, without properly combing it afterwards, it would just get matted, so it would just have to wait until she got home. Luckily, her mane was still intact for the most part. I feel like Chris got to do something with that. Bonbon blah blah blah, words God say. Bonbon stepped out of the tub and walked to the sink, opening one of the drawers. She found a collection of unicorn combs that she could use, but the sight only made her sigh in despair. Most of the brushes had no handle to speak of. This wouldn't have been a problem if Lyra was here to help her. Sighing to herself, she pulled out one of the larger brushes and set it down on the floor. She then bit a towel that was hanging from the wall and draped it over her back. She used her forehooves to rub the fabric into her coat as best she could, drying off the water that remained in her coat. Once she was dry enough, she bit a towel and laid it down flat on the floor, curling her tail under her legs. She sat down and folded the fabric over her tail before pressing down with her hooves, patting it dry. That should do it, Bonbon quietly whispered to herself, unwrapping the towel before taking the comb in her teeth. That should do it, Bonbon quietly whispered to herself, unwrapping the towel before taking the comb in her teeth. She scooped up part of her tail on her forelegs, lifting it closer to her muzzle. Before running the comb through her hair, it was difficult, but she... Oh, goddammit, I can't say words, but she knew it would be. She continued to work out the knots and tangles for what felt like hours before giving up and putting the comb back in the drawer. There, Bonbon breathed, looking down at her now straight and combed out tail. She looked around the room for her curlers. They were nowhere to be found. They were stored in her saddlebag in the bedroom. She forgot to grab them. Oh shoot, she pouted to herself, frowning with disappointment. It looked like she might have to walk around with a straight tail for most of the day. She just hoped that Chris wouldn't mind. But why would it matter what he thought? What he thought? Okay, what? Oh shoot, she pouted to herself, frowning with disappointment. It looked like she might have to walk around with a straight tail for most of the day. She just hoped that Chris wouldn't mind. But why would it matter what he thought? Bonbon blushed and rolled her eyes at the silly notion. It's not like I'm trying to impress him or anything, she thought with a giggle. She figured she's lying to herself, I love it. She figured Chris wouldn't even notice, but she did remember Lyra saying something about him liking her curls. No, that couldn't have been true. And it really didn't matter what he thought. She could go the rest of the day and even the rest of the 2 weeks without curling her tail. It was just one less thing to worry about. Bonbon stood up and looked back, flicking her tail around in the air a few times before letting it fall back. Part of it was dragging on the floor now, making it look similar to the way Fluttershy wore hers. She admired her work for a moment, but thinking that she did a pretty decent job considering she wasn't using her normal brushes. She opened the bathroom door and saw that Chris was on the couch reading that parental guidebook again. I'm done now. Sorry I took so long, she said as she walked into the living room. Chris, I want to ask about the book. I really want that to happen. Chris closed his book before setting it down and setting up. It's okay, I don't mind, he reassured her as he bent down and picked up a neatly folded pile of new clothing before standing up and facing her again. I know how troubling mane styling can be, he teased with a wink. Yeah, Bonbon giggled nervously. If only Chris knew exactly how long it took her to brush and style her mane when she could do it. Wait, what? Okay, let me read this section again. Chris closed his book before setting it down and standing up. It's okay, I don't mind, he reassured her as he bent down and picked up a neatly folded pile of new clothing before standing up and facing her again. I know how troublesome mane styling can be, he teased with a wink. Yeah, Bonbon giggled nervously. If only Chris knew exactly how long it took her to brush and style her mane when she could do it. She might have been in there for hours if it was the case. Chris started to make his way to the bathroom but stopped suddenly, giving Bonbon a curious look. Did you change something? Bonbon blushed, darting her eyes left and right. What do you mean? She questioned, taking a small step back to shine away from his gaze. Your tail, it's all straight now, Chris pointed out, sounding slightly disappointed. Baba looked back at her tail. I just, she started to explain, facing her back end away from him, heading her tail behind her. Just forgot my curlers in the bedroom, so I haven't put them in yet. She reassured him with an awkward smile. Wait, I love this part. Baba looked back at her tail. I'll be reading it. I just, she started explaining, placing her back end away from him, heading her tail behind her. Just forgot my curls in the bedroom, so I haven't put them in yet. She reassured him with an awkward smile. Oh, good, Chris replied in relief. I mean, the straight look is really nice on you, but I really like your curls. You do? Baba asked shyly as her heart started to beat faster in her chest. Yeah, Chris replied with a soft blush, looking towards the bathroom door while rubbing the back of his neck with his hand. I just always thought they were really cute and pretty, he admitted shyly. Baba blinked up at him, feeling like her cheeks were going on to catch fire. She didn't even know how to respond to that. Thank you, Lyra was right. Chris really did like her curly tail on mane. She didn't think any pony ever cared or even noticed, especially not the human. The human. I hate that they always do that. It's always like, he's a different species, and I'm pretty sure any human would notice the different manes, okay? Pretty sure. Especially if they're differently colored. Pretty sure we're gonna stare at them a lot. Anyways, Chris coughed into his fist, keeping his gaze fixed on the bathroom door. I'll just take my shower now so we can start making some candy. Oh, okay, Baba replied softly as Chris entered the bathroom. Yes, they're coming around the corner. Coming around the corner, so far, but yet so close. She stared out the door for a moment before looking back at her tail. She lifted it up, swaying it back and forth in the air a few times. Maybe I should curl it after all, she thought to herself before her eyes widened in realization. Not because Chris said he liked it or anything. It's just dragging on the floor, and I don't want it to get dirty again. I don't want it to get dirty again. She tried to convince herself as she trotted into the bedroom to find her curlers. Wait, does Fluttershy have it like that all the time? I don't remember. So does Fluttershy always hit the ground? Or she's a nature girl, so I expect her. She loves getting the dirt off. I don't know why. It didn't take Bonbon long to put her curlers in, and Chris was still in the shower when she walked out of the bedroom. She didn't know how long it took humans to wash and groom themselves, but as far as she knew, he didn't have a lot of fur, and his mane was on the shorter side. He might not be in there much longer, but she feared. But she still had time to get the kitchen ready. Bonbon walked into the kitchen to gather all the ingredients they needed to make caramel. She found everything she needed pretty easily and placed all the items on the counter. With some time to kill, she thought she could start cleaning up Chris's mess in the living room for him, or at least organize it a little. She started to make her way out, but stopped when she noticed Scary's aquarium. She cringed a little, remembering there was a spider in the area. At least he was still in his little tank, so that was good. But she thought she should check on him really quick, just to make sure he had some water. Bonbon slowly crept up to the aquarium, getting just close enough to see Scary's little saucer dish. It was still filled with water and seemed untouched, which made her look around for Scary. He was nowhere to be found, which caused her to panic a little. Did he get out? I was now crawling around in the cabin somewhere. Scary! Bonbon called out softly as she moved closer. She leaned in, darting her eyes all over the aquarium in a frenzied panic, trying to see if he was heading somewhere. Scary! Suddenly, a small patch of dirt next to the piece of wood started to move. Yip! Bonbon squeaked, flicking her head back as Scary slowly crawled out of the dirt and moved to the center of the aquarium, covered in the soil he was standing in. Bonbon let out a sigh of relief, putting a hoof over her chest. You frightened me. Scary shuddered his little body in response, shaking all the dirt off his fur before turning and looking up to Bonbon. Bonbon raised a curious eyebrow at Scary. She had to admit he was kind of cute, even for a terrifying creature like him. It reminded her of something a little bird might do when taking a bath in a small pot of water. You know, she mused softly, you don't seem all that terrifying when you do cute things like that. Scary's little eyes started to widen and glisten in response as he started up at her. Bonbon frowned in confusion at this, tilting her head to the side. Are you giving me puppy dog eyes? She questioned in disbelief. He wants something? Scary kept his gaze on her as his adorable little eyes started to shimmer in the light. Bonbon went feeling very uncomfortable with how adorable Scary was being at that moment. Stop that, you're not supposed to be cute, you're supposed to be scary and terrifying. I know his name is Scary, but he's not scary, okay? Scary's expression melted into a more sad and hurt frown as he slowly turned away from her. Yeah, that would hurt his... Wait, I'm sorry, she said, causing Scary to stop and turn back. I didn't mean to say those mean things. It's just spiders really scare me, okay? She made with a sad frown. Scary walked up to the glass of the aquarium and pawed at it lightly with one of his forelegs. Bonbon sighed, hanging her head down and shaking it in disbelief. I can't believe I'm talking to a spider right now, she mumbled under her breath before looking back up to Scary, who was still staring at her. There was no way she would be doing this if he wasn't behind the glass. She looked back to the bathroom to check that Chris was still in there. She stared at the door for a moment, frowning as she thought deeply before looking back to Scary. Scary, what do you think of Chris? Why are you asking the spider? Why are you asking the spider? This is my question. Like, you're not Fluttershy. You're not Fluttershy. Wait, you're an Earth Pony. Which might help, actually. She's a Pegasus, though. I just realized that. I don't know how to feel, but I'm pretty sure you can't actually understand him, but he can give you gestures. Scary placed his leg down and backed away from the glass, taking a moment to rub his face a few times with his little feelers. You think he's nice, Bumble continued, causing Scary to stub. Stop his rubbing and look up at her. I mean, he's a really kind and sweet stallion, but oh, I'm not sure what to think, she admitted sadly. I just wish I wasn't so afraid of his hands touching me. She shivered at the unwelcome thought. Scary remained motionless as he gazed up at her. I just don't know. Part of me thinks that Lyra might have... Suddenly the door to the bathroom opened, interrupting Bonbon. She looked over and saw Chris standing in the doorway of the bathroom. He was wearing clean clothes now, and had his old dirty ones from this morning draped over his arms. His mane and beard seemed to be trimmed as well. It was a really good look for him, and she had to admit that for being a weird alien, he really wasn't that bad looking. In fact, he was quite charming. Bonbon watched as he walked up to the couch and dropped his dirty things down, adding to the mess in the living room. She walked out of the kitchen and towards the couch, cringing slightly. You okay? Chris called out to her, making her look up at him. He seemed to have noticed her discomfort. I hate to be rude, Bonbon said shyly, glancing back at the mess, but can we clean this place up later? Chris scanned the room for a moment and cringed when he saw the mess. I guess I kind of let this place go, he admitted, turning back to Bonbon and gave her an embarrassed smile. How about cleaning it up after we cook? Bonbon smiled at him. That would be fine. Oh, and I can help, she stated excitedly, which caused Chris to toy his head and raise an eyebrow. What? Bonbon asked, blinking up at him. Well, for a second there, it sounded like you were super excited about cleaning. Cleaning is fun, Bonbon expressed happily, which caused Chris to shake his head in disagreement. She furrowed her brow at him, but kept her smile, feeling a little deja vu. Lyra would always give a similar reaction whenever she tried to get her into the spirit of cleaning. Don't worry, I'll show you just how much fun it can be later. But for now, no it's not. But for now, she paused for a dramatic effect, grinning with excitement. I'm going to teach you how to make some delicious candy, the Bonbon way. She cheered, holding up a triumphant hoof in the air. Chris contorted his face and bit his lip, trying desperately to contain his laughter. What? Bonbon questioned, giving him a confused look. Chris burst out laughing, which caused Bonbon to blush brightly and slowly put her hoof back down. What's so funny? Chris stifled his laughter, wiping away a happy tear from his eye before looking back to Bonbon. You're a dork. Bonbon already knew this, and she wasn't ashamed of her dorky nature. She huffed playfully in mock annoyance, shutting her eyes and holding her whole nose up in the air. I'm just passionate about cooking. There we go. I'm just passionate about cooking, she stated firmly, and this dork is going to show you a thing or two. So, hurry up and get in here, she demanded as she turned around and started to head back into the kitchen. Yes, we need more of this Bonbon. Yes. Yes, ma'am, Chris said before following her. We need more of this. This Bonbon is fun. I love this Bonbon. We need more of this. Man, it's been 30 minutes, and I'm barely even half of the way there. And I'm out of water to drink. That means a lot slower, hopefully. Probably not, though. Okay. You can see I was really happy about that Bonbon. Bonbon happily trotted up to the wide variety of items she had collected and turned back to Chris, beaming with eager excitement. Some ponies excited, Chris pointed out, as he walked up to the counter and glanced over the ingredients. So, let's see, he mused, stroking his fuzzy chin. We have white and brown sugar, salt corn syrup, salted butter, and some heavy cream, he hummed to himself before looking back to Bonbon with an almost disappointed expression. This all seems really simple and standard for making caramel, but your candies always seem to come out a lot richer than the stuff I'm used to back home. I was half expecting to see some secret ingredient that you use or something. Okay, I got confused real quick. Okay. They're magical ponies, Chris. Their cutie marks mean their special talent, which means she's good at it. She doesn't really have to add anything to it. It just means she's good at it, and she puts a lot of herself into it. There you go. Or love, as one would say. Babang giggled under her breath. Don't start putting your cart before the pony, mister. We'll get to that part later. Well, alright then, Chris said excitedly, gave her an eager smile, clapping his hands together. So what are we doing first? We aren't doing anything, Babang corrected, but you, she stated, pointing at Hoof in Chris's direction, are going to be making our sweets today, and I want you to follow my instructions to the best of your abilities. Okay, sounds easy enough, Chris replied with confidence. Well, we'll see about that. Now I want you to start mixing the sugar, syrup, and cream in that pot over on the stove. Baba ordered, pointing a Hoof at the pot in question. I'll tell you how much you need of everything. You're the boss, Chris replied as he started to reach for the sugar first, but hesitated. Wait, he glanced over all the ingredients again with a confused look. What's wrong? Bonbon asked, puzzled. Chris frowned, looking back to Bonbon. We don't have the vanilla extract, and I don't think we have any in the cabin. Oh, that! Don't worry, I got some in my saddlebags back in the bedroom, Bonbon explained happily. Chris nodded, trying to hold back a laugh. Do you keep a vanilla extract in your saddlebags? He questioned with a smirk. Bonbon blushed, looking away from him. Well, no, not all the time. It's just a special blend, and I thought I would need it to. She tried to explain herself, but grunted in embarrassment. Just focus on the mixing. I'm loving it. Chris snickered. You're weird, he teased. Hey, you're the weird one here, Mr. Alien from another world, she retorted playfully, trying to sound stern and hold back her smile, but failed. You make a good point, Chris agreed, turning his attention back to the task at Hoof. Bonbon watched as he worked. She made sure he was adding in the right amount of ingredients before telling him to turn the stove on and start mixing everything together. His experience in the kitchen was evident, and only made the idea of working with him all the more exciting for her. Bonbon got up on her hind legs and placed her forehead over on the counter for support. Okay now, Bonbon started explaining, carefully peering into the pot to make sure everything was still going smoothly. Turn the heat up just a little to bring everything to a nice steady boil. Can do, Chris replied, doing as she asked for him. Perfect, Bonbon cheered. Now, all you have to do is keep stirring. You want to make sure all that sugar dissolves nicely. She placed her elbows on the counter, propping her head up with her hooves as she slowly wagged her tail back and forth. She had to admit that getting to watch somebody else cook with her was a lot of fun. It reminded her of how Lyra would always try to do her little part to help in the kitchen, which led to her reminiscing about the last time she made caramel with Lyra. Bonbon let out a soft muffled giggle at the memory, which caused Chris to turn and look at her. What's so funny? He asked as he kept stirring the caramel. Bonbon blinked a few times, not realizing she giggled out loud. Oh, I was just remembering this time I cooked with caramel with Lyra, she explained with a sheepish smile. And you were just going to hold on to another great story about Lyra and not tell me about it? Chris questioned in disbelief, almost as if he was hurt by that fact. Come on, you gotta tell me. It's not really a silly story, Bonbon admitted with a frown, not knowing if we should really tell Chris about this particular moment. I'm not sure I should. Oh, Chris sang in an annoying tone. It's one of those stories. What? Bonbon shouted in shocked embarrassment, jerking her head towards Chris as she placed her hooves back on the counter. No, it's not that kind of. I mean, it's not what you think. She quickly tried to defend herself, blushing uncontrollably. Chris chuckled, focusing on his stirring. It's okay, you don't need to feel embarrassed. I know you two love each other, and I know how things can heat up when she's around, he teased with a knowing grin. Bonbon's whole face turned a bright crimson as her embarrassment shot through the roof. No, it's not like that. I wouldn't. I mean, I would, but not in that. Bonbon babbled and then growled in frustration. I'll just tell you. I'm having fun with this scene. Chris kept up his stirring as he turned his head towards Bonbon, eagerly awaiting her story. It was before you were Lyra's coltfriend. This caused Chris to slow his stirring and raise an eyebrow. I was in the kitchen making caramel like you were doing, but Lyra was making it difficult for me to concentrate. Oh, I know all too well how distracting Lyra can be in the kitchen, Chris teased her with an amused smirk. Bonbon puffed out her cheeks in annoyance. Not like that. I love it. I'm loving this scene. Not like that, she said loudly, knowing that he was just trying to get her flustered again. She shoved him playfully with her hoof in retaliation. You need to get your mind out of the gutter. Okay, Chris chuckled. I'm sorry. Please continue. Thank you, Bonbon replied kindly. As I was saying, Lyra was just pacing back and forth, muttering about you and making it difficult for me to focus on what I was doing. Oh, this was the first story of this story, the first story of the story, the first chapter of this story, or the second chapter. I'm not quite sure, but the first one. I know what she's talking about. Wait, about me? Chris asked, sounding shocked. Yes, Bonbon answered, nodding her head. She was absolutely obsessed with you for the longest time. It's all she ever wanted to talk about, she said in an exhausted tone. She had been wanting to confess her feelings for you for... She paused, looking down at the counter, tapping her hoof to her chin, and she thought back for a moment. Well, for as long as you've been in Equestria. Chris's eyes widened in surprise. Really? That long? He asked. I mean, I know she was trying to get me to notice her for a long time, but I didn't think... He trod off. Yeah, she was pretty taken with you, Bonbon said softly with a sigh, but she could never muster up the courage to ask if she could court you, so I offered to help her get over her fears and confess everything to you that day. Wait, what? Chris asked in shock, causing her stirring to stop completely. You helped her do that? Yeah, Bonbon replied nervously. I mean, she was so infatuated with you, and it was driving her insane that you didn't seem to return any of her feelings, even though she was constantly flirting with you. Chris winced a bit at that. Yeah, I wasn't in my right mind back then, he made a sadly, looking back to the pot. No, you weren't, Bonbon agreed, but I helped her get ready to try and woo you. We even went out and bought a dozen or so roses, which are very expensive, by the way, she added with a scowl and a tinge of agitation to her voice. Sorry about that. Oh, it's not your fault, Bonbon reassured him, but paused and thought twice about that answer. Actually, it was your fault, but it helped Lyra to come clean, and I'm glad she did. Actually, it was. I love it. I love how she's upset and happy about it. Chris stared down at the now almost boiling mixture in the pot. I just can't believe that, he muttered softly. Bonbon frowned and pricked her ears up to hear him better, even though she got the gist of what he said. You can't believe what? Chris looked back to her with an almost puzzled look. You helping Lyra, he clarified. I kind of thought you didn't like me back then. Haha, back then. Bonbon's ears splayed back as she looked down at her hooves at the counter. Well, it's okay, I understand why, Chris interrupted her with a hint of sadness, sighing deeply. I mean, now I understand. Bonbon felt her heart drop into her stomach. She felt terrible about the way she had been treating him. She thought back to all the times she had ran from him or ignored him when he tried to say hello. I'm sorry about the way I treated you, Bonbon apologized softly, keeping her gaze down and away from him. It's alright, Blondie. No, Bonbon shouted in anger, jerking her head up towards Chris. It wasn't fair that I acted like that. You were only trying to be my friend, and I just ignored you like some kind of rude pony, she argued sadly. I let my fears get the better of me, but we're friends now, Chris interrupted her, looking back at her with a warm smile. Bonbon froze as she looked up at him. She did consider them to be friends now, but it was heartwarming to hear him say it. Yeah, she agreed with a happy. I don't know why I'm angry as Bonbon. She agreed softly with a smile. We're friends now. Then all the stuff before is just water under the bridge, Chris stated, turning the session back to the caramel mixture in the pot. And I should thank you for helping Lyra by doing that. You helped me discover how much I truly love her. If she hadn't come up to me that day, then I might have never come to terms with my own feelings. So thank you for helping me find the love of my life, he said in a genuine and sincere tone. Bonbon felt wonderful knowing that she was able to help Chris confess his feelings as well. Does it say Bonbon? Okay, for some reason I feel like I'm saying Lyra every time I say Bonbon. Just saying. Bonbon felt wonderful knowing that she was able to help Chris confess his feelings as well. She might have been sour about it before, but now she was happy. You're welcome, Chris, but I'm sure you would have come around eventually. It's not hard to fall in love with that pony, she teased, sticking her tongue out at him. Chris let an awkward and shy laugh. Yeah, that's true, he agreed softly as the mixture in the pot reached a steady boil. Looks like this is ready for the next step. Bonbon leaned over the counter to check, seeing he was right. Okay, now you can stop stirring, and you're going to need the thermometer over there. Bonbon pointed out with her hoof to the thermometer that was on the counter. Okay, Chris confirmed, placing... Wait, where... I just lost the spot again. Why you gotta do me like this, mouse? Okay. Chris confirmed, placing the wooden spoon down before picking up the thermometer. Just clip that to the edge of the pot and keep an eye on the temperature. We need it to be exactly 250 degrees Fahrenheit before we do anything else. 250 degrees Fahrenheit? Got it, Chris repeated as he fixed the thermometer to the side of the pot, letting the end rest in the now bubbling green mixture. Excuse me. Also, I feel like these are actual recipes you can actually just make at your own house. I'm not sure why. I feel like that's how it goes. While you watch that, I'm going to go get my vanilla extract from my saddlebags, Bonbon stated as she started to make her way out of the kitchen. Whatever you say, dork, Chris muttered under his breath, but just loud enough for Bonbon to hear. Bonbon whipped her tail against Chris's rear end in retaliation, letting the curlers that were still in bump against his firm backside. Hush you, she said before joyfully trotting out of the kitchen and into the bedroom. She thought now would be a good time to take her critters out and put them back in her bag. She quickly found her vanilla extract, carried it back to the kitchen, setting it down on the counter. Chris looked down at the bottle, then back to Bonbon. So what's so special about this vanilla that you thought it was necessary to pack for a 2-week-long stay in the cabin? He asked in a teasing manner. Well, I thought I was going to be here with Lyra, and I wanted to use this to make her some candies while I was here, Bonbon admitted with a sigh. But remember, when you thought I had a secret ingredient for my candies? She asked, and looking up at him with a smile. Chris only nodded his head. This would be one of those little secrets, Bonbon stated, pushing the small bottle closer to Chris with her nose. Chris raised a curious eyebrow. No kidding, what's so secret about it? He asked with a curious wonderment. It's a special formula I make myself, Bonbon explained proudly. Once we get out of this cabin, I can show you how it's made, but you can't tell anybody about any of it, she demanded firmly, giving Chris a serious look. Chris pinched his thumb and index finger together and moved them across his mouth. My lips are sealed. Bonbon smiled before turning attention to the thermometer, letting the room fall into silence as they both watched. You know, Chris spoke up, interrupting the silence. I was thinking about Lyra and your plans for expanding the shop last night. Bonbon looked up at him, raising a curious eyebrow. You were? Yeah, I was thinking that Lyra might be able to help with the story as well. Bonbon rolled her eyes. Lyra already helps me in the shop when she can, she explained, as if he should have already known that. But that is a lovely idea. No, not like that, Chris retorted quickly, looking down at her. I know she helps a little in the kitchen and helps with customers, but I think she should help with her music. Her music? Bonbon questioned, blinking up at him. Yeah, think about it. She only practices with her orchestra group in the mornings, and her concert gigs are pretty far apart. So she can play some music for all the shop patrons during the afternoon, or just play a few shows when we're the busiest. Bonbon started to say, paused to think about that. It was actually a pretty good idea. She never thought about having Lyra help with her spatial talent before, but it seemed so obvious now. I think that's a great idea, Chris, she complimented. I'm not sure why I haven't thought of that before. We'll have to ask her about that once we get out of here. Chris nodded his head in agreement, looking back at the thermometer. But you know, he started to say, but hesitated, stroking his fuzzy chin, and thought, we can't just let her get away with this. Get away with what? Bonbon asked in confusion. Bonbon forgot about it. Bonbon forgot about the whole scenario. Yes, that's good. That's good. That's how we want it. You know, Chris said with a frown, looking back to Bonbon. This whole cabin thing, he explained, fanning out his hand, gesturing to the whole room. Oh, Bonbon replied, but frowned brown confusion. What do you mean exactly? Chris rolled his eyes. I mean, we need to get a little revenge on her, he explained with a mischievous smirk. Bonbon scrunched from up her muzzle for a moment. She never really thought about getting revenge for what Lyra did. She knew that she wanted to have a long talk with her, but pulling a prank on her might be fun. She couldn't just deny that. She couldn't deny that the idea was a pleasing one, but she didn't know what they could do. What did you have in mind? I was thinking, Chris mused as he looked back to the pot, watching the temperature. I saw this little ring things at this store, he explained vaguely, which caused Bonbon to look up at him curiously. What store? Bonbon questioned, noticing Chris's soft blush on his cheeks. Oh no, I didn't know what they're gonna do. No! Those are magic canceling rings. No, just no. That type of revenge, please. I want it to be funny at least. Come on, I want that. I want a funny revenge prank. Then if you and Bonbon actually hook up, then you can have fun with her, okay? But right now, no, don't do that. Please don't, Chris. Don't, you idiot. What store? Bonbon questioned, noting Chris's soft blush on his cheeks. Well, it was an adult shop. Chris admitted shyly, which caused Bonbon to blush. Oh, I see, Bonbon replied shyly. Anyways, Chris continued, clearing his throat. I saw these little rings that cancel out magic that unicorns can wear. They had a locking enchantment on them, so she wouldn't be able to get it. Get it off without the key that comes with it. I figured we can trick her into putting one on and make it so she couldn't use the magic for a while. I thought you were gonna have some little fun, you know. Bonbon frowned. I'm losing my voice. Damn, but Bonbon frowned. Bonbon frowned at Chris's idea for a prank. I don't know about that. It seems a little too cruel. I mean, Lyra relies on her magic all the time, and she needs it to play her instruments. That's her whole livelihood. Chris hummed to himself and thought, scratching his beard, I guess you're right. I didn't even think about that. That would be a little much. Bonbon looked back to the thermometer as she brainstormed some more ideas. I got it, she shouted excitedly, causing Chris to jump back in the back a bit in surprise. What is it? Chris asked with the wet eggs. I mean, you got a good idea for a prank? Yes, Bobbon chirped happily, and it's a hilarious one. Yes, you're on the right mind track here, she stated, holding back her giggles. What is it? Bobbon held out a hoof to her lips, trying not to giggle from her clever little idea. How about instead of a magic cancelling mean, she started explaining, pausing for a dramatic effect, we tie a frilly pink bow to her horn, and she'll have to walk around all day with it. She blurted out, breaking out into a fit of laughter at her own idea, finding it immensely amusing. I feel like Chris would think it would be cute. Chris just grinned and raised a questioning eyebrow. A pink bow, really? He questioned, not sounding convinced of the idea. Bobbon stifled her laughter. I looked up at him. Yeah, it would be perfect. Lyra hates girly things, and it would embarrass her so much, she explained, fighting back more giggles. No, Chris shook his head in a disagreement. Not that. I don't think that's a super hilarious prank or anything, but I think we can go a little bigger. Bobbon whined in disappointment. But she would look so cute with a pink bow on her horn. Chris laughed loudly. Well, I can't deny how adorable it would be to see Lyra like that. Maybe we could do that on something else, like a big prank combo. The room went quiet for a short time as they both continued to think before Chris spoke up. You know, I'm half tempted to get Twilight to put a spell on my hands to make them look like hooves, he mused with a snicker. That would really freak Lyra out. Bobbon frowned, knowing exactly why Lyra wouldn't enjoy that. She always talked about how wonderful and amazing Chris's hands were. How could Lyra like Chris's hands so much? Bobbon thought to herself. It seemed like Chris's digits would just feel like creepy, spangly spiders trying to crawl all over her. In fact, the idea of him having hooves instead of hands was a pleasing one. She actually wanted him to do that for her own sake, which in turn just made her feel terrible. She wouldn't want her friends to change what makes them who they are, no matter how much she wanted it. No, I don't like that idea. Can we do something else, please? Bobbon asked in a sad and dry tone. She just wished she could get her stupid fear of spiders and stop comparing Chris's hands to the terrifying creatures. You have to do that on your own time, Lyra. I mean, Bobbon. Well, Chris continued, not noticing Bobbon's changing mood. We could get Pinkie Pie to hide all of Lyra's instruments for a short while and then replace them with a balloon replicas. I think that might be pretty funny. Bobbon started to smile again, picturing the confused look on Lyra's face as he held up a balloon Lyra with a cute pink bow on her horn, making her giggle in the back of her throat. Yeah, she replied softly, nodding her head in agreement. I really like that one. We'll add to that list for sure. Chris chuckled as he watched the thermometer gauge reach exactly 250 degrees Fahrenheit. The caramels at the right temperature now, he pointed out, looking back to Bobbon, waiting for what her next step was. Bobbon double-checked the thermometer and saw that he was right. Perfect. Now take it off the heat and turn the stove off. Chris did as ordered and turned back to Bobbon with an excited gleam in his eyes. So, is this secret vanilla extract time? Bobbon bit her lip, trying not to laugh at how excited Chris was. He was quite the silly and excitable human at times. Yes, but you don't need much for this batch. My vanilla extract is pretty strong, so just add in a teaspoon. Chris reached out to the tiny bottle and added the right amount into the bubbling mixture, then placed the bottle back down. Now add the butter and salt and mix it all together. Bobbon continued watching him carefully. This part's important, so make sure it all gets nice and blended before we move on to the next step. Chris nodded and did as directed, grabbing the wooden spoon and using it to stir everything in the pot. Bobbon opened the cabinet under the counter and pulled out a small, thin non-stick pan and placed it down on the counter before looking up at Chris. Once you're confident everything is mixed and ready, I want you to pour it all onto this pan, but slowly and evenly. You got it, Candy Butt, Chris teased. Oh, ha ha, Bobbon laughed, sarcastically, wishing that joke is even funnier the second time she teased back, trying to hold back a smile. Just focus on pouring that caramel onto the pan, mister. They're having fun. Chris chuckled lightly as he continued to stir. After a short while, he placed the spoon down and lifted the pot by its wooden handle, moving it over to the waiting pan and starting to slowly pour the thick, gooey candy out. Once the pan was filled, he placed the now empty pot back on the stove and faced Bobbon. So how long do we have to wait until we can start cutting it up? Bobbon stuck her tongue out and scrunched up her muzzle, thinking it for a moment. Well, it normally takes a few hours for it to cool, but it's pretty chilly in here, so it shouldn't take that long. She got up on her haunches and held onto the counter with her forelegs as she inspected the caramel in the pan for a moment. You did really well, she praised, looking up to Chris. I know cooking caramel isn't the most complicated thing in the world, but you made a good batch of candy a lot quicker than I could have done working alone. Chris shrugged. I was just following your instructions. Besides, we haven't even tasted it yet. It could taste awful. I guess there is still the taste to test to perform. Bonbon mused, stepping off the counter, but we'll have plenty of time for that later. Once it's cooled off, then we can cut it up and start wrapping the individual pieces. That could be fun, Chris happily added. And speaking of, Bonbon sang, giving Chris a wide dorky grin, I can show you how fun it can be to clean while we wait for the caramel to cool. She expressed an excited little bounce before happily trying out of the kitchen. Come, you'll see. Chris rolled his eyes but followed Bonbon into the living room. Damn. Alright, I need to go drink something after this. I'm so close to finishing this though. It took an hour to clean the whole cabinet, and Bonbon failed in their quest to help Chris see how magical and fun cleaning can be. You mean you didn't think any of that was fun? She asked with a hint of sadness. Don't you feel all warm and happy inside now? Chris rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. I mean, it feels great having a clean and organized cabin again, but I'm just not good at singing like you ponies are, he admitted, walking back into the kitchen. Yeah, I'll be terrible at that. Bonbon huffed in a sad disappointment, following close behind. You didn't even sing with me. She chastised softly with a frown, puffing up her cheeks. I didn't know the lyrics, Chris retorted quickly. Besides, I just can't enjoy all the scrubbing and dusting, but it was a lot of fun getting to hear your singing voice, he admitted. As he leaned against the kitchen counter next to the camera, I'd love to hear that again. Bonbon giggled nervously with a bright blush. Yes, well. She started before clearing her throat. Maybe next time I can get you to sing with me. Chris grumbled quietly to himself in response as Bonbon walked over and placed her hooves on the counter. She giggled softly at him before looking into the now cold candy. It looks like this is ready to be cut up. Then we can start wrapping them in wax paper for storage. Awesome, Chris blurted out excitedly. I saw a folding table in the basement. I'll go get it and set it up next to the couch. That sounds good, Bonbon replied, opening the drawer with all the knives in with it. Wait, what? That sounds good, Bonbon replied, opening the drawer with all the knives in it with her hoof. I'll just use the pizza cutter to start to cut these up while you do that, she said as she put the cutter in her teeth and set it down on the counter. It was the only cutting tool in the kitchen she could easily use on her own. Chris nodded and walked out of the kitchen. Oh, and Chris, Bonbon called out, causing Chris to stop and step. Please make sure the table is clean. Don't worry, Chris said reassuringly. I'll make sure it's nice and sanitized. He gave a salute with his hand before heading down to the basement. While Chris was busy setting up the folding table, Bonbon finished cutting the caramel into small rectangles. She placed the pieces in the center of a clean cloth before folding the four corners of the cloth over the pile of candy. She put the joined corners in her mouth, carrying it to the living room where Chris had just finished wiping off the table. Okay. She's mumbling. Could you get the wax, Papa? Bonbon mumbled through the fabric in her teeth. Chris muttered something under his breath about ponies and something being adorable, but Bonbon couldn't make it out. What? Chris chuckled to himself and shook his head slightly. Nothing. I'll go get the paper, he said as he walked into the kitchen. Probably like, you guys, he was probably saying like, you ponies are extremely adorable. Bonbon got up on the couch and placed the cloth down in the center of the table and waited for Chris to return. It didn't take long for him to walk in with the wax paper and some scissors. He quickly took a seat next to her and started to cut the paper into small squares, putting them into a small pile between them. Bonbon reached her hooves out and grabbed a piece of candy, popping it into her mouth. She savored the treat, humming in delight. Is it good? Chris asked in concern. Excuse me. Bonbon simply nodded her head in approval. Unable to answer as she chewed the candy, the texture was nice and it tasted like caramel should, but it wasn't the same as what she made and sold in her shop, though that was more the ingredients' fault than it was Chris's. The sugar and cream were cheaper in brand than what she normally uses, but he did a wonderful job considering. She couldn't wait to get home and really put him to the test. I gotta try a piece, Chris stated as he reached out and picked up a caramel, popping it into his mouth. He suckled and chewed on it a few times, but shrugged his shoulder. It's okay, I guess. I think yours are better, he admitted as he continued to chew the treat. But agreed. I'm tired as hell, you can tell. Bonbon giggled in the back of her throat at him before chewing and swallowing the candy. She then grabbed a small square of wax paper and placing it in front of her, then grabbed another piece of candy. She placed it on the paper and wrapped it the best she could It took her a while, and it was a little awkward wrapping her candy with her hooves, but she managed okay. They both continued to work in the comforting silence until Chris spoke up as he finished cutting the last piece of wax paper. So, he started to say shyly, hesitating for a moment. How long have you known Lyra for? He finally asked, placing the scissors down, reaching out towards the pile of caramel so he could start wrapping as well. Bobomela hummed to herself as she thought, well, it was right after I moved to Ponyville when I was just a filly. We met because we were attending the same school at the time. Oh, did you guys become friends right away? Chris asked, sounding curious as he turned to face her. Baba blushed slightly as she started to remember when she first became friends with Lyra. No, not exactly, she answered in a bashful tone. Lyra actually wouldn't talk to me at all when I first arrived. She would talk to every pony else, but she would shy away from me if I approached her. Really? Chris asked. Baba giggled under her breath, smiling softly. Yes, but every pony in my class kind of ignored me back then, so I didn't think much of it at the time. So, how did you two become friends then? Well, one day at recess, a few bullies decided they would pick on me for being the new filly in town, Baba replied, which caused Chris to frown deeply. Don't worry, she said in a comforting tone, noticing his saddened expression. They didn't hurt me or anything, and you know how fools can be when somebody new comes into town. Yeah, but I still don't like hearing that you got bullied, Chris admitted, sounding disheartened. And it's just what fools do, Boban explained nonchalantly with a shrug, but Lyra came to my rescue that day. She paused and out a dreamy sigh before continuing. She was so brave to help me. She told those bullies off pretty quick. Told those bullies off pretty quick. Pretty quick. Chris grinned to himself. I can only imagine what she told him. He chuckled, which caused Boban to giggle as well. Damn it, man. Let's just say she had a pretty colorful vocabulary for being such a young filly, Boban said as her smile widened and her eyelids fell slightly. But once the bullies left, Lyra turned to me and tried so hard to ask me if I wanted to go play with her. Boban sighed deeply with a warm blush on her cheeks as she continued to reminisce. It took her forever to finally stop babbling and invite me over to her house after school, and ever since then we've been the best of friends. That's a very sweet story, Chris said, smiling softly before frowning with a sigh as he reached for another candy to wrap. It was obvious that something was bothering him. What's the matter? Bonbon asked, frowning in concern. It's just, well, Chris started to say, but took a deep breath and so softly, not daring to look back at Bonbon as he continued to wrap candy. I'm sorry. What? Bonbon blinked in confusion, and his apology seemed so spontaneous, and he hadn't done anything wrong as far as she knew. What ever are you saying sorry for? I feel like I got between you and Lyra, Chris admitted in a somber tone as he placed the wrapped candy into the finished pile he had started. Oh, Bonbon slowed her wrapping before stopping completely, letting out a soft sigh. She used to resent Chris for Lyra moving now, but hearing him apologize for it now just felt sour and wrong. She might have resented him in the past, but she couldn't really blame him for wanting to spend time with one of he loves the most. Plus, he didn't do anything to change her friendship with Lyra. It's okay, we're still great friends. Chris looked back to Bonbon with a deep frown. It seems like ever since I started dating Lyra, you two haven't been as close as you were before, and I don't want you to stop loving her because of me. Bonbon paused at the moment. Did you think that she didn't love Lyra anymore because of him? That wasn't true at all. She still loved Lyra with all her heart. She was just avoiding her because she didn't want to be around him. Bonbon winced when she remembered the real reason why she would never spend as much time with Lyra. She couldn't admit any of that to him, though. It's not like that at all. I still love Lyra, she reassured him sweetly. And you didn't do anything to change that, honestly. She reached her hoof out and pulled another caramel wrap towards her. It was true that she still loved Lyra, but he didn't need to know that she was spending less time with her because of him. We need to get to that part, okay? Chris smiled for a brief moment. Thanks, Bonnie. That makes me feel better, he said, sounding more upbeat. You should come by and hang out with Lyra more. It will really make her happy. I promise that after we get our revenge, then I'll spend more time with her, she reassured him sweetly. And you, she added softly in a bashful tone. Blushing deeply, Chris's smile widened at her words. I would love that, he replied as they continued to wrap candy in silence. You know, Chris mused, breaking the silence as he reached for another piece of caramel. It's still kind of strange to me that you ponies are a polyamorous culture. Why is that? Bonbon questioned as she fiddled with the candy in her hands, wrapping it in the wax paper. It's a normal thing. I know, Chris replied, finishing his wrapping and moving on to another piece. It's just that I came from a world where you picked one mate and lived with them for the rest of your life. Really? Bonbon questioned. Well, that's not completely unheard of. There are some ponies that actually only fall in love with just one mate, but most ponies will find a herd to start a family with. It's really common. Chris nodded his head in understanding. Did you, Chris started asking a bashful tone, but paused. Did I what? Did I what? Bubble asked, tilting her head to the okay, typo and grammar. Bubble asked, tilting her head to the side, slightly to the side as she looked up at him. Did you ever fall in love with anybody else other than Lyra? Bubble froze completely at that question, making her drop the half-wrapped caramel candy that was in her hooves. There was only one name that entered her mind when he asked that question: Silverwing. She started feeling very uncomfortable. Oh, so there was another, Chris asked, sounding curious. Stop picking up on her discomfort. Was there another pretty mare? He teased with a strange eyebrow wiggle. No, or a dreamy stallion. Chris added, interrupting her as he continued his playful teasing. I bet it was that time turner guy, wasn't it? He seems like the dreamy type. No, it wasn't. Oh, I bet it was Big Mac. Huh, I don't blame you for wanting a piece of that. What is Chris saying? I feel like Chris has looked at the stallions too at this moment. Oh, I love it. I love him. I love Chris at this moment. His name was Silverwing, Bonbon yelled, scowling at Chris as his tears slowly well up her eyes, causing him to flinch back in surprise. Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. I was just playing around. Chris quickly tried to defend himself, leaning away from Lyra. Bonbon's scowl slowly melted into a sad frown, making her sigh when she realized what she did. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. She apologized, slowly blinking away her tears as she looked away from him. It's okay, Chris reassured her, relaxing a little more as he sat up again. So, his name is Silverwing, then. Yes, Babana made her dryly as she slumped back, letting herself sink into the surprisingly comfortable couch cushion. I see, Chris replied softly. I'm going to guess that this Silverwing wasn't the best guy around. No, Baba confirmed that flatly. He wasn't very nice at all, she added with a huff, scowling again. The room fell into silence once more. Both Chris and Baba stayed motionless for a time, until Baba spoke up again. I'm sorry, he just really hurt me. Chris frowned, scratching his beard in thought for a moment before replying. So, how can I find out where this Silverwing dipshit lives? Oh, let's get it. Get some revenge. I love it. Dipshit? Dipshit? Boban sounded out the unfamiliar word quietly to herself. Whatever the word meant, it didn't sound nice. Chris was obviously upset. I wouldn't know where he lives, she admitted with a sigh. He left me after. She started to explain out, but stopped, unsure if she should be telling Chris these more personal stories. After what? Chris asked, sounding deeply concerned and worried. You can tell me. He's upset. He's really upset about this. Baban sighed as she thought maybe it would be okay to tell Chris what happened. It would feel good to talk to somebody else about it, like when she talked to him about her fears. Besides, it's not like it was some big secret. Pretty much half the town knew about what Silver did to her. Except him. Having made up her mind, Baban sat up and took a deep breath. Maybe I should start from the beginning. Chris said nothing, but turned his body to face her, giving her his full attention. I want to know too. Like, it's something personal, and it's bothering me mostly. I don't know. It was about 5 years ago when I met him at this traveling stunt show Lyra took me to. Baba began to explain, fidgeting with her hooves on the couch. Silver was one of the main Pegasi performers there. He was great at really wowing the crowd when it was his turn to perform. She started to fidget with her hooves, and she dug up the painful memories. In one of his more daring acts, he flew past the crowd but slowed down when he flew by and gave me a wink. I didn't think much of it at the time, but after the show, he came out and found me. She continued, hanging her head down in shame. I shouldn't have been so blind, she mumbled under her breath, going quiet for a moment. What happened next? Chris asked in a disheartened tone. I'm guessing Chris knows how guys are. So do I, for that matter. It bothers me too. Baba took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. He asked me out on a date, and I stupidly agreed, she said with a tinge of anger and self-hate. He was a great liar too, she huffed. He would say all these nice empty things like, you're so beautiful, babe, and you're the one for me. Baba shook her head in disgust as tears started to well around her eyes. I was such a foolish little filly back then. What did he do? Chris asked dryly, sounding more worried. He just kept asking me out on nice dates and bought me fancy flowers. He was so kind and generous. I thought he actually cared about me. Then one day, Baba started trailing off. As her eyes started to water more, she took a deep breath, calming herself before continuing the flat, exhausted tone. exhausted tone. I made the mistake of sharing a bed with him. Her body shivered in disgust at the memory. I thought he loved me, and I knew I loved him. Baban said dryly as she wiped away a tear with her, or at least I loved the lie he portrayed himself as, she added, sniffling a few times. Bonnie, Chris said softly, reaching out a hand, but stopping and placing it back down. It wasn't your fault. He played with your heart. You couldn't have known. Baba shook her head in disagreement. I should have known. Even Lyra told me he was no good, but I didn't listen to her. It wasn't your fault, Chris protested gently, trying to reassure her. The worst part, Baba continued sadly, after he was done using me, she spat in anger. He left the very next morning before I even woke up. He didn't even leave me a note or anything. I never could figure out why he left. Baba fought back to tears as she became more heated and angry. Was I that bad in bed? Did he just do all that stuff to sleep with me? What pony would do such a thing? Are all stallions like him? She whimpered angrily. Emotional. Bonnie, don't say that. Not all stallions are like that. Chris tried to comfort her in a gentle voice. Baba sniffled and wiped away her tears with both hands. I know, but she stopped, sighing heavily. I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't mean to say those mean things, she said, correcting herself more. I know all stallions are like him, but it's just hard for you to trust them, Chris finished for her softly. I've been there before, and I know what it can be like when some pony just leaves you and breaks your heart. Baba sniffled a few times, then turned her head to look up at him. You do? She questioned Sally. Did your lover leave you after they slept with you? Not exactly, Chris admitted, looking down and away for a moment. It was a similar situation, only I had been dating her for over a year at that point. Baba frowned. What happened? Well, this was before I ended up here in Equestria. I was dating this human mirror. Her name was Rebecca. Rebecca, Baba questioned, blinking a few times. So all you humans have those interesting names. Chris smiled briefly and chuckled. Yeah, we're weird creatures, but I'm sure you already knew that, he said with a giggle which caused Baba to smile in response. Silly names aside, continued deeply. I was in love with Rebecca. She was everything to me, and I thought she loved me too. Baba sat up a little more and turned her whole body facing Chris as she listened intently to her story. Just like Silver Ring, Rebecca would always tell me that she loved me and would often talk about our future together. I was actually starting to make plans to marry her when time was right, Chris explained with a smile as he reminisced about the good times they had together. But sad, Sally, but one day, I don't know where she just stopped talking to me. I couldn't just figure out why she was ignoring all my calls. I couldn't figure out why she was just ignoring all my calls and text messages. Text messages? Bonbon questioned, giving Chris a curious look. What is that? Chris laughed softly, shaking his head. It's a little hard to explain, but let's just call them instant letters like what Spike does for Twilight. Only every pony could do it. And without the baby dragon. Oh, well, Bonbon said in awe, wanting to know more about these text messages. Oh, now you're interested in them. Okay. But stopped when she realized she was getting off track. Well, you have to tell me more about that sometime, but why did Rebecca stop talking to you? Chris scowled and shut his eyes, turning his head away from her. She slept with another man, stallion. Baba frowned in some confusion. Did she not want to try a herd with you? She questioned, but remembered Chris told her that humans were monogamous. She quickly covered her mouth with her hooves, regretting what she had just said. She hoped Chris wasn't offended now. I'm sorry, I forgot you humans only stay with one partner. It's okay, Chris reassured her softly. I know the herd thing is normal for you ponies. Baba removed her hooves from her lips and gave Chris a sympathetic frown. But that's terrible if she did that to you. It must have been awful to find out she betrayed your love. It was very painful, Chris admitted with a soft sigh. She called me the next day after I found out and told me that she never loved me, and it was a fool to think she thought the same. That's horrible, Baba squeaked out loudly. Why would somebody say such a thing? Chris shrugged his shoulders. I wish I knew. What did you do after that? Baba questioned. Moped around in my house for months, Chris replaced flatly. Baba did that as well after Silver left her. She never left her house and took Lyra's months to get her out to come out and walk amongst the living again. I know how that is. I didn't want to leave my room ever again after what Silver did. Chris nodded his head. It's not fun having your heart ripped out, and for a time I felt like I never wanted to love again. Damn. This is a really sad chapter. Like, both ends of this chapter. Like, in the middle was fun. It's just ending was sad. Baba could relate to that. She was lucky to have Lyra in her life, but she didn't know if she could ever trust Stallion with her heart again. I know what you mean, she admitted, Sally, hanging her head down, looking away from him. But you know what? Chris said in a more upbeat tone, causing Bonbon to slowly look up to him. After a while, I realized I couldn't just wallow in self-pity. I let one person make me give up on love completely. If I did that, then I would have never given Lyra a chance. Damn. Okay. I'm not going to say this sentence. But you know what? Chris said in a more upbeat tone, causing Bonbon to slowly look up to him. After a while, I realized I couldn't just wallow in self-pity and let one person make me give up on love completely. If I did that, then I would have never given Lyra a chance. Bonbon sat up straight and perked her ears up. I just couldn't give up on finding love because of what one mirror did to me. Damn. Okay, I couldn't just give up on finding love because of what one mirror did to me. I took it what Rebecca did as a learning experience. Chris looked towards Bonbon. If you're continuing, I took it at it this way. There are a lot of ponies out there that could make you happy, but you just have to live your life and keep your eye out for them. Bonbon looked up and smiled at him, feeling a little better. His words were surprisingly comforting. She could definitely learn from what Silver did to her. But she didn't want to be afraid of living stand-ins all her life. She wanted to raise a happy family one day. When she found that special sun pony, that dream would be impossible if she never gave ponies a chance. I like that, Bonbon said softly. Thank you, Chris. I'll remember your words. Chris smiled widened. Yeah? Well, I'm glad I can help, he said happily, reaching out to the pile of candy to start wrapping again. Bonbon looked down at her hooves on the couch as she mulled over everything Chris had said some more. He was a little dense at times, but he could be a wise stallion when he wanted to be. She smiled to herself as she mindlessly reached her hoof out to start wrapping candies again. Once her hoof reached the pile, something soft yet firm landed on top of her hoof. It was a strange feeling, but it had a certain pleasantness to it. She turned her head and looked down at her hoof and saw that Chris's hand had accidentally grabbed her onto her. Time slowed down as her pupils constricted, and that strange feeling started to morph into a prickly, burning sensation. Memories of the spider that crawled on her hoof and sent her to the hospital flooded her mind, sending chills down her spine. Bonbon squeaked loudly, jerking her hoof away and pinning it tightly to her chest, cradling it with her hoof as she looked up to Chris in a panic. Bonnie! Chris cried, pulling her hand away, hiding it behind his back. I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking while I was reaching. I didn't mean to do that, honestly. Bonbon rubbed her hoof, putting the spot that Chris touched over and over as she heaved. Her whole body started to tremble as she started to speak to him, but only her heavy breathing could be heard. Bonnie, are you okay? Chris asked, running concerned. Bonbon's eyes started to water as she struggled to calm herself. It wasn't a spider. It was just his hand. It wasn't a spider. It was just his hand. It wasn't a spider. It was just his hand, she thought over and over again, trying to convince herself to let go of her own reasonable fear. I didn't even feel like a spider at first. It was nice. Focus on that feeling. Just focus on that feeling. Focus on the nice, pleasant feeling. Bonnie! Bonbon shut her eyes and took several long, deep breaths, calming herself down. The thoughts of how his hand felt before she knew it was touching her helped as well. She kept her hooves pressed against her chest and slowly opened her eyes when she was in control again and looked up to Chris. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to freak out, she started breathlessly. I know you didn't mean to do that. Chris frowned deeply. Are you gonna be okay? Yes, I'm fine now, Bonbon replied weakly, trying to act like everything was normal. She didn't want to show Chris that she was still afraid and wanted to keep rapping. She was still afraid. I wanted to keep grabbing candies with him. She turned back to the caramel pile on the table and slowly reached out, trembling hoof and knocked out part of the pile away. Shoot, she said shakily as more tears started to well in her eyes. Maybe we should take a break and go rest, Chris offered, sounding even more concerned. No, Bonbon practically shouted. I'm fine, honestly. I want to keep rapping with you. She reached out a shaky hoof again and managed to grab a caramel and put it towards her just to help prove her point. She started to wrap it, but only managed to crush the sweet, causing her to whimper softly. You're still shaking, Chris pointed out sadly. I'll finish wrapping the candies while you go rest. I don't want that, Bonbon shouted in anger, feeling frustrated that her hooves wouldn't stop shaking as a tear streamed down her cheek. I don't want to be afraid, she whimpered sadly as she held her hooves to her chest again and shut her eyes. I shouldn't force it. I'm not mad or anything, but I'm worried about you. Please, for me, just go rest. Bonbon shut her eyes and whimpered softly for a moment. I'm sorry, she sobbed. You have nothing to be sorry for, Chris reassured her in a friendly tone. I'll finish up here and I'll bring you some dinner later, okay? Bonbon wanted to stay and try to wrap another caramel, but she knew that would only end in the same result as before. She felt absolutely terrible for her actions, but Chris was right. She needed to calm herself and get some rest. Without saying a word, she slowly put her hooves down on the floor and started to walk on shaky legs towards the bedroom. She stopped just as she was about to enter the door and looked back towards Chris. I promise I'll be out again soon. Okay? Okay? She stuttered. Chris nodded his head, giving her a soft, reassuring smile. I would enjoy that, but don't push yourself. Bob forced a smile and entered the bedroom and shut the broken door. She walked over to her saddlebags and used her nose to open the loose flap. There was a black box in the center of the bag with a small white string around it that acted like a handle. She put the string and lifted the box out before turning and jumping up on the bed. After sliding into the covers, she dropped the box in front of her and opened it with her snout. She peered inside and saw the fire lily Chris had given to her at the every full-moon. She let her muzzle drift inches away from the flower before shutting her eyes. She inhaled deeply, letting the nostalgic fragrance fill her noses. Fill her senses, helping her to relax even more. Whimpering to herself, she let her head fall to the pillow as she pressed the box against her chest. Chris, she whimpered softly as she tried desperately to fall asleep. Yes, she kept it, guys. Yes, that's a score. Anyways, hope this fear of her gets, fixed, and it does. Oh my god! Every time I'm always procrastinating. So when I know I need to read this more and more, I'm always procrastinating. But when I go into the chapters, I'm always passionate about it. It's beautiful. I love it. Alright, this is gonna be I'm gonna put the instrumental. I'm not gonna put anthropology on. It's gonna be sad. It's gonna be P-Tone's Moonlight or something. Might actually get copyrighted for that. But anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. Listen to what you guys do, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. What's gonna be talking about?
How when you kiss another human being, you're technically making one long tunnel from butthole to butthole.
Butthole.